So I woke up this morning and it was a beautiful fall day. The leaves are just perfect. It's not too cold, not too hot, just right. So I decided to load the backpack with all my hammock camping gear and go out for a hang. It's also a good time for me to do a video on my top 10 tips for hammock camping. I've been hammock camping probably about a dozen to 15 times this past summer. I've really began to enjoy hammock camping. So let's take a look at my top 10 tips for hammock camping. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is find a good spot to hang the hammock. I'm gonna check out some of the sites. Some of them will be better than others, but hopefully I'll find something that works for me. Okay, so I think I found my site. Looks pretty decent. I think I can use these two trees here and here. Seems pretty far apart. No major hazards around. Trees look pretty solid. Are you a solid tree? So let's put the bag down and let's set up this hammock. So now that I've selected the site and the trees that I want to hang my hammock from, I want to make sure that the trees are nice and strong, as you can see, those are some strong trees. I like to make sure the trees are spaced out properly. Sometimes you're not going to get the trees to be exactly the way you want. Actually, you're never going to get them exactly the way you want. So you're going to have some options to make your hang work for you. The other thing I like to do is check the spot underneath the tree. This might be a little bit silly, but a lot of times there are roots and rocks underneath the tree, which doesn't seem to be a problem. But for me, I always think, what if the hammock gives away or the strap gives away and I take a tumble? I'd rather land on the soft ground than a big jagged rock or a big tree root. Now, that's not always possible. Sometimes you have to hang over those things and you're gonna be fine for the most part, but it's one of those obstacles I like to check out, and if I can avoid them, I will avoid them at all costs. So make sure you check out your surroundings before you set up your hammock. So after I decide on a spot to hang the hammock, I start with the hammock straps. I always use the straps because they can protect the tree from any damage to the bark. Now I get it, trees are tough, but if I can limit the amount of damage I personally do, then heck, why not do it? I like to hang these straps about 6 feet off the ground. Then I move on to the next tree and hang that strap as well. Sometimes you really got to get in there, hug that tree to get it the way you want it to. Huh, tree hugger. I get it now, tree hugger. Oh boy, my friends are gonna love that I'm a tree hugger now. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. Once the straps are set, it's time to connect the hammock. My hammock connects with built-in carabiners, which makes the setup nice and easy. Okay, so now I have the hammock set up and it looks pretty good. I like the hang. It's not the perfect hang, but for me, this is something I like. It's a little bit tighter than most people would probably go, but hey, again, it's my setup, so I'm gonna set it up the way I like it. Now, you saw me set up this hammock and it didn't take too long, but that was a big lie because I did take a while to set up this hammock. You just didn't see it in the video, of course, and a lot of people are like that out there. Set up the hammock the way you want it, take your time. For me, I had to adjust almost every adjustment to get it the way I like. And that's fine. I have some time out here, not a big deal. I wasn't in a rush, it's not getting dark. So I just took my time and get it the way I like. So I like it like this. So now we can add whatever accessories I need to add to it. Later on, we're gonna add the underquilt and make sure everything's set up that way. And then we also are going to set up the mosquito net. I have a separate mosquito net for this and I'll explain why I like that. So the next tip is just to sit in it and get comfortable. Make sure that this is a hang that you want and that you like. If it's not, make some more adjustments, it's fine. And again, adjust it to the way you want, not the way other people are telling you about the certain angles, the 30% angles and how tight it should be. Do it the way you want it to be. You're gonna find out pretty quick the way you like it. For me, this is the way I like it. A little bit tighter than usual. The trees weren't in the perfect position, but again, they never are. So you just gotta make the best. It's also a great sitting position. I'm very comfortable here. So let's test it out to make sure that it's gonna work lying down. And if it is, then we can move on to the next tip. There you go. I'm actually pretty comfortable. It's not the most diagonal, but for me, it's pretty comfortable. It will work. I'm a little bit lower to the ground, and with the underquilt, I might have to make some more adjustments, but this is kind of the way I like it. My head is a little bit closer to the top over here, just the way I prefer it. I will say that normally I will not wear my hiking boots or shoes in the hammock. That's a big no-no for me, but we're here setting up in the fall, so it's not a big deal, and I'll make sure I clean the hammock out properly. I was also making sure that there's nothing really bad on my boots. All right, let's move on to the next one. My next tip is a big one, especially for beginners. When you're first starting out hammock camping, bring your hammock, of course, and bring everything that you need, but I also suggest that you bring a tent, and if you can, set up that tent. Reason why, there's a chance you're not gonna like hammock camping. Sure, you might lie in a hammock and get used to it, but until you're actually sleeping in a hammock, or at least trying to sleep in a hammock, you might not like it, and that's fine. It might not be for you, or it might take you a couple different times to get a comfortable position and to make it work. It might be too cold, might be too windy, too many bugs. There's lots of reasons you might not like it your first time. So if you have a tent, your night's not gonna be ruined. Sure, give it a try, give it the best you can, and if it doesn't work, move on and go in the tent and get a good night's sleep, and maybe try it the next night or another camping trip. It's not a big deal. It's not a fail to give up on the hammock and jump into the tent. You need to get a good night's sleep and just give it a try another time if it doesn't work that time. Another thing I'm gonna suggest, especially if you're just starting out, is don't spend a lot of money on your hammock setup. Once you buy everything for your hammock, that cost can really skyrocket, and you can be spending a lot of money, more than a tent for sure, if you spend on all the accessories that you're gonna get for your hammock. This one here is just a cheap one. I think it was $29 on Amazon. It came with the straps, it came with its own little bag. Everything's self-contained and packs up nice and small. $29, no problem. The reason I did that is because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like hammock camping. And if I didn't like it, I didn't wanna spend all this money. I do like to spend money on the stuff that I'm gonna use for a long time. So I think I am hooked now on hammock camping. So I'm already looking at upgrading my gear, and that's great. This current gear, I didn't spend a lot of money on it. I will be either donating it to somebody, giving it to my kids, or something like that. It won't go to waste for sure, and that's something that's important to me. So after a couple trips, you'll find out if this is for you, if hammock camping is for you, and then go ahead and make the investment into a little bit more expensive gear, a little bit more quality gear. But for me, so far, this has actually been pretty decent. I haven't had anything rip on me or any break. I'll knock on wood later. So don't go out and spend lots of money on your hammock setup, even before you've gotten used to hammock camping, and you got to decide whether you're going to like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. At least you haven't spent a lot of money on the gear. If you're new to hammock camping, another suggestion I'm going to have, and actually even if you're not new to hammock camping or just something you like, don't let the people online be a hammock bully. And you know what I'm talking about. Some people will really criticize your hammock hang or anything you do with your hammock. That's not the proper way to do it. For me, I get that as well, and people are probably going to criticize this video. Whatever, I don't really care. I'm going to set up the hammock the way I like it. A lot of people will give you a very scientific and technical way to set up your hammock and how to do hammock camping properly. You know what? There really isn't. Use the base knowledge that you find online and test it out yourself. If it's the way you like it, great, and it's the way they're suggesting, hey, that's fantastic. For me, I always like a little bit of a straighter hang than a more relaxed hang. It's just the way I like it. I like to sleep that way. I still sleep on a diagonal, but I prefer to sleep like that. I've tried it the other way, and it's okay, but for me, I prefer it a little bit tighter, and a lot of people don't like that, and they might criticize it, but what do I care? It's my hammock. I'm out there camping, not them, so don't let the hammock bullies get to you. So when I go camping, I don't like to hang around the campsite all that much. I like to explore, go hiking, canoeing, or something like that. So this next tip is involving storing your hammock away. It doesn't mean putting it away for good or anything like that, but storing it so that you're not leaving it out in the elements. If it gets rained on or birds poop on it, all these things could happen if you just leave it out like this. If you're not too concerned, that's fine. If you have a tarp, again, you don't have to worry about it. But if you don't and you just have it hanging out here, just take it, put it away, or you can get a snake that covers it up and makes it waterproof, safe from the elements, and it also protects it from anything else that could land on it, bugs, bird poop, you name it. It just keeps your hammock more secure and safe. Some people actually like to tear it down because they're worried about leaving their hammock up at a campsite when they're gone off for a hike or something like that, because they're worried about somebody coming and stealing it. I haven't had that issue, and it would really suck if it did. I think we all agree most times we trust people when we're out camping. And if you're the type of person that's going to steal a hammock while we're camping, well, you suck, you know what I mean? So that's up to you. But I suggest if you're going to be going out for a while and leaving it, then maybe just store it away or do something so that you can kind of protect it. Again, a tarp would do that, but a lot of times I don't like the tarp camp, so it's up to you. Store it away if you're going to be away for a while. Now, another important reason to have your trees a good length apart, not too far, not too close, is that you might want to set up a tarp for your hammock. That's very, very popular, and I've used it a bunch of times, especially if it's raining or even if it's windy or if it's cold. You're trying to protect yourselves from the element. I don't like to use the tarp a lot, especially if it's nice. I know that it's not going to rain, knock on wood. If I have a really good idea that it's not going to rain, I will just use the hammock itself. Out here in the fall, it's perfect. There's no bugs. If it's not going to rain one night, I will just sleep under the stars like this. You'll have the canopy of the trees, but there's nothing like sleeping under the stars. That being said, the tarp can save your butt a bunch of times. Having a tarp when it's raining, you can store all your stuff underneath. Sometimes I'm backpacking in or canoe camping and you don't have a car, you don't have anything to place your gear. So you can do that under the tarp. If you want to use that tarp, it really will protect you from the elements. I'm thinking of doing some winter camping with the hammock. I will definitely be using the tarp. It would be beautiful to see the stars at nighttime, but I think in winter you have lots of elements going on, wind, snow, lots of things that can really play havoc with your trip. So I think I will try that, and hopefully that'll work out well. I'm open. Catch. Go deep, go deep. I don't know how to do the Heisman. I don't know how to do the Heisman. Anyways, this is my underquilt. Very cheap, $23 on Amazon. It was easily the cheapest underquilt you can get. There were no reviews for it. There was no nothing. Brand new product, just thrown out there. I think the company's called Black, although they had a spelling mistake on their Amazon site, so it might not be called Black or X Black. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's just something I wanted to test out. I was going in the fall and I wanted to test out the hammock with an underquilt, and I did not want to spend a lot of money, so went with the cheapest one. Normally I don't do that, but because I wasn't sure, we went with this one. And it actually worked out really well. Right when you put this underquilt underneath, it is absolutely shocking how warm your butt is, because that's where you get cold, right? The wind comes, blows underneath. This parachute material is so thin, which is actually pretty good in the summertime, but you know, you get cold no matter what. Now, you may judge me and say I'm a wimp, and you're probably right, but this underquilt does do a good job and is very simple to set up. For me, I like to keep everything clean. So I hold it here and I bring it across. Now, there's a good chance I'm not doing this right, but I bring it across and I set it up the way I want it set up. Now, from here, I will take it and switch it up like this so that the hammock is inside. That's it. It works pretty well for me. I like it. Let's test it out. And having the underquilt on doesn't really affect anything else. You can still use it as a seat. Actually, my butt's nice and warm right now. I've noticed I've mentioned my butt way too much in this video. I'm going to apologize for that right now. I'm probably going to do it a couple more times. So I'm going to apologize for the future use of talking about my butt. There you go. It's pretty good. Again, I can already feel the heat. You can adjust this as you go. I want to make sure it's not touching the bottom. If it is, I'll probably just tighten it. It's got two carabiners where you can tighten it, and that's fine. So it's pretty good. I can already feel that heat. In the fall, if you're just lazing around at the campsite, it's a pretty nice way to go. So this next tip is a simple one, and it saved my butt a bunch of times. The bug net or mosquito netting, whatever you want to call it. This one is one that goes over top of it. It's an external one. You can, of course, get the bug nets built into the hammock, and that's a pretty nice feature. I will let you know I did try that this summer. I have a friend who lent me their hammock, and actually it was really, really hot, so I didn't have anything underneath. I was getting bit by mosquitoes through the material, and my butt, again, I said butt again, I apologize. So that is another reason I actually like this, because it kind of hangs and the mosquitoes don't actually get a shot at you. It's a lot more messy and a lot more difficult to set up, of course, but I found that it works pretty well. When I'm not using a tarp or a tarp setup, and I am using this, it does protect you from, you know, falling twigs, acorns, leaves, you name it. It's not going to protect you from anything bigger than that, of course, but bird poop, that kind of stuff, it'll protect you. This one's a dark black one. At nighttime, it doesn't stop you from looking at the stars, barely see it. So yeah, so it's one thing that I really like. So let's give that a try and you can see what it looks like. So to cut down on the time, I already set up the bug net ridge line, which is just a very simple ridge line. It doesn't have to be overly tight, to be honest with you. I have it hooked on very easily up to the tree straps. You can go around the tree, you can go higher up, whatever you want to do. And then I always make sure that the zipper is facing, you know, towards your campsite so that you can make sure you have easy access to the campsite. You don't have to go the other way. Then you just click these things on like this and you're good to go. This will keep the bug net off your face. Gives you a good spacing for yourself. I mentioned before, this bug net has a little hook so you can put a light on or whatever you want. Now, if you're finding that this thing is moving down, you can just tie yourself a knot on here so you're good to go. I like to have this set up so that it's not really touching the ground. As you notice, that's not really touching the ground. So it's a pretty good setup. It is a bit of a pain to fit the hammock through the little holes and tighten everything. But you know what? It doesn't take that long. It took me about 5 minutes. And once you're set up, you're good to go. And the bug net is big enough to allow you to stretch out again. For a double hammock, single hammock, it doesn't really matter. And again, it just gives you some more freedom and you can really get a good view of the stars up there. So for me, the bug net has come in handy a bunch of times. Now, while I can't scientifically prove it, I have no facts to back my claim, but I think coffee tastes a lot better, first of all, when you're camping, but also when you're hanging in a hammock. Prove me wrong, right? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed these tips and hopefully they're helpful. If you have any other tips that you want to let me know in the comments, please do, because I'm always looking for ways to improve my camping setup, of course, but my hammock camping. Since I've been new to it this summer, I probably camped, like I said, a dozen times in the hammock. I really packed in a lot of camping trips with the hammock because I turned out I liked it. So yeah, if you have any tips for me or tips for other people, please let me know in the comments. So I got to tear down and then I got to get going. I really enjoy this spot. It's beautiful. Beautiful fall weather. You can't beat it. Thanks for watching.